now like to introduce Michael Keenan MP, the member for Stirling, representing the Leader of the Opposition, the Honourable Tony Abbott, and please come and join us, Michael.
Well, to Bob and Ray, Foreign Minister Smith, federal and state parliamentary colleagues, Ambassador Rotem, Pastor Margaret Court, who was a host here this afternoon, and also to Steve Lieblich, who I know has done an incredible amount of work in getting together this function today. And what a wonderful turnout it is to see people coming out here to support Israel and to show... and to show our support for one of our fellow Western democracies. It's unusual for us to have to get together to say that we support one of our allies, but of course Israel faces threats that no other country in the international community is forced to endure. Israel faces threats from people who question its right to exist and its legitimacy as a nation. Heads of state of other countries actually say they're going to wipe Israel off the map. No country should be forced to endure that level of threat. Parts of Israel still come under rocket attack. The threat of terrorism exists literally in every part of that country. I've had the pleasure of visiting Israel in 2008. One of my colleagues on that trip was then Shadow Minister, now Leader of the Opposition, Tony Abbott. And we had a chance to visit the town of Sderot, which is on the border of the Gaza Strip. And we went through the local police station and we saw the debris of literally the hundreds of rocket attacks that the people in that town had had to endure. Every part of that town is covered by a network of bomb shelters. And when sirens go off, you have 15 seconds to try and find yourself within one of those shelters. And they could go off at any time of the day or night. That's the threat that people in that town were living under. We visited a childcare centre that had been constructed by the Jewish Women's Organisation, a childcare centre full of 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds. It was made to be bomb-proof and it was made to withstand a gas attack. And these are the sorts of conditions that Israeli citizens are having to endure. My visit to Israel was able to confirm the views that I already had about that country, but it was able to inform them to a much greater extent. And I believe, and my colleagues in the opposition believe, and it's already been acknowledged that Julie Bishop would have been here today, but obviously has been detained at the Liberal Party campaign launch. But both myself and my colleagues believe that you show you're a true friend in tough times as well as in easy times. And being a friend in difficult times is actually a measure of true friendship. And we don't believe that friendship should be hedged. We don't believe that those friendships should be chipped away at when the going gets tough. And we're also mindful that friendship should not be sacrificed to pursue other goals. Now, Israel, as has been said by Bob, of course, is not perfect. No country is. It makes mistakes. It doesn't always get everything right. But I believe that within the international community and within the international media, and if Pastor Margaret doesn't mind me using a biblical reference, a lot of attention is paid to the splinter in Israel's eye when other countries get away with having logs in theirs. And Israel is held to a very exacting standard that many members of the international community could never possibly hope to meet. Unlike many other countries in the region, there is a robust and healthy debate within Israel about what is the right and moral thing to do. And we were greatly struck by the way that Israel functions. National security issues, which are of course in Israel life or death issues, are hotly contested between the political parties and amongst the populace at large. They're even, astonishingly, we found contestable in the Israeli court system. There is a real and constant discussion amongst the Israeli population about what is the correct way for Israel to operate and to function within the very difficult security situation that it finds itself. The Israeli society, of course, is very multicultural and diverse, and we spent some time talking to Israeli Arabs who weren't always happy about the way Israeli functions, but are actually a very important part of the state there. Israel shares enduring values with Australia, and we share values that we should always cherish: democracy, the rule of law, tolerance of your fellow countrymen, a belief in the equality of men and women, economic liberalism, and respect for religious freedoms. And of course, if more countries in that region were to share those values, then the security situation in the Middle East would be vastly different. My friends, it's great to be here amongst all the distinguished guests and members in my own community of Stirling, for us to say that we will stand up and be friends of Israel in the good times and in the bad, and I thank you all for making the effort for coming down here today.